For 7 years, millions of people tuned in every week to watch a husband and wife build something extraordinary in the middle of Wyoming. Two city kids who walked away from six-figure careers moved to a cattle ranch with zero experience and turned it into the biggest agricultural YouTube channel in the entire state. Mike and Erin Galloway weren't just content creators. They were a love story playing out in real time, surrounded by wide-open skies, newborn calves, and 3 kids growing up on camera. Their audience didn't just watch them, they rooted for them. So when Mike posted a video in early 2024 announcing the marriage was over, the comment sections stopped cold. No explanation, no drama, just gone. And the more you dig into what actually happened between Mike and Erin, the more you realize the end of their story had been written long before anyone saw it coming. Mike Galloway wasn't born a rancher. Before he ever touched a fence post or pulled a calf, he was living a completely different life, one built on radio waves and broadcast towers. After a stint in the military, Mike worked his way up through the radio industry, eventually landing a syndicated show that aired on over 200 stations nationwide. That kind of reach doesn't happen by accident. It took years of grinding, and it paid off. By the time he was done, he held the title of Vice President of Programming, overseeing 17 radio stations. He was at the top of his career. Erin was working in advertising at the same company. That's where they crossed paths in 2007. They married a year later and figured they'd keep building that comfortable corporate life they'd spent nearly 2 decades constructing. But life had other plans. Erin's stepfather, a man named John Gilbert Odakoven, owned and operated Barkley Ranch about 10 miles south of Gillette, Wyoming. When Gilbert's health began failing and Erin's mother Rita started having knee problems, the family needed help. Erin's mom called and asked if they'd come out for just one winter until they could find someone else. Mike and Erin looked at the careers they'd spent 20 years building and walked away from all of it. They showed up to Wyoming with no ranching experience whatsoever, and Gilbert handed 2 complete city slickers the keys to his entire livelihood. And what happened next would change everything. Gilbert passed away in 2012, and that year became the Galloways' first season running the ranch with total control. No safety net, no experienced hand to call when things went sideways. Just Mike, Erin, a growing family, and thousands of acres of Wyoming ranch land that didn't care how many radio stations you used to manage. They figured it out the hard way, season by season, mistake by mistake. And slowly, the operation started to take shape. By 2017, Erin had been pushing into farmers' markets, selling locally raised beef and pork directly to consumers. To help promote the business, they decided to film a simple video showing how their cattle were raised. Nothing fancy, just an honest look at where the food came from. They posted it and didn't even share it on their own Facebook page yet. Within hours, it had 25,000 views. The audience wasn't local, it was global. Turns out there were millions of people around the world starving for exactly this kind of content. Real. Food, real land, real people. That one video became hundreds. Our Wyoming Life exploded into the largest agricultural social media brand in the entire state of Wyoming, crossing 600,000 subscribers and 100 million total views. Mike became a sought-after public speaker at agriculture and finance conferences. Erin expanded into microgreens, egg production, and local food advocacy. They weren't just ranchers anymore, but that level of success always comes with a price nobody talks about. From the outside, everything looked exactly the way the channel promised. 2 people who bet on themselves, took the hardest road possible, and came out the other side with something real. Mike was the face of the operation, charismatic, media-savvy, completely at ease in front of a camera. After 2 decades in radio, performing for an audience was second nature to him. Erin was the heart of it, deeply passionate about local food, fiercely connected to the land her stepfather had left behind, and driven by a mission that went far beyond view counts and subscriber numbers. Their 3 kids grew up on camera. Viewers watched calves being born in the dead of winter, watched harvests go sideways, watched the family push through drought, equipment failures, and the kind of exhausting days that most people never see behind the highlight reel. That authenticity was the whole point, and audiences felt it. Comment sections were filled with people saying the channel felt like visiting family. But here's what those same viewers weren't seeing. Running a 600,000 subscriber YouTube channel while simultaneously operating a working cattle ranch, raising 3 kids, managing merchandise, sponsorships, and public speaking. That's not a lifestyle. That's multiple full-time jobs stacked on top of each other every single day with no days off and no clocking out. The picture-perfect Wyoming life had a cost, and behind every polished thumbnail, the pressure was quietly building. Early 2024. Mike posted a video to the Our Wyoming Life channel that nobody in that 600,000-strong community saw coming. He and Erin were divorcing. That was it. No explosive argument caught on camera. No cryptic posts leading up to it. No dramatic tell-all laying out what went wrong. Just a straightforward announcement, delivered cleanly, with one very deliberate detail. The reason was nobody's business. Both Mike and Erin chose to keep the cause of the split completely private, and neither of them has broken that silence since. For a channel that had spent 7 years documenting nearly every corner of their lives, the brutal winters, the calving emergencies at 2 a.m., the kids' milestones, the failures, and the wins, the silence hit differently. Fans who had watched this family grow up in real time suddenly found themselves on the outside of the one moment that mattered most. The comment sections flooded immediately. Shock, sadness, speculation, every emotion you'd expect from an audience that had genuinely invested in these 2 people. But underneath all of it was one question nobody could answer. What actually happened? And with both Mike and Erin refusing to say, that question has never gone away. What was clear, though, was the immediate practical reality of the split. The ranch had always been Erin's family's land. Mike would be stepping out, and the channel was staying with Erin. The reaction from the Our Wyoming Life community was unlike anything most YouTube channels ever experience. This wasn't a gaming channel losing a co-host or a cooking show changing formats. These were people who had genuinely welcomed Mike and Erin into their living rooms every single week for 7 years. They had watched those kids take their first steps. They had celebrated record harvests and grieved difficult losses right alongside this family. The announcement didn't just surprise them, it hurt them in a way that felt oddly personal. Speculation spread fast. Comment sections, Reddit threads, Facebook groups dedicated to the channel. Everywhere fans gathered online, the same questions kept surfacing. Was it the pressure of the cameras? The grind of running both a ranch and a media brand simultaneously? Something that happened off-screen that nobody ever saw coming? Every theory got floated, and because neither Mike nor Erin offered a single detail beyond the announcement itself, none of those theories ever got confirmed or shut down. What made it even harder for fans to process was how clean the split appeared from the outside. No public argument, no sub-posted cryptic messages. No obvious warning signs buried in old videos that people could point to in hindsight. Just one video, one announcement, and then silence. For a community built on radical transparency, the sudden privacy felt jarring. And the questions that started in those comment sections haven't stopped since. Here's where the story gets quieter than you'd expect. After stepping away from the ranch and the channel, Mike Galloway largely disappeared from public view. No new YouTube channel launched, no social media comeback, no statement beyond what was said in that original announcement video. The man who once had a syndicated radio program broadcasting across 208 stations nationwide, who built a brand from scratch in an industry he knew absolutely nothing about, went almost completely silent. It's a striking contrast to the version of Mike that fans knew for 7 years. The guy who was never short of something to say, who could work a camera like a seasoned broadcaster, because that's exactly what he was. That version of Mike felt like someone who would always find a new platform, a new audience, a new project. And yet, nothing public has surfaced. There's a Cameo profile still floating around online with his name attached, a leftover from the Our Wyoming Life days. But beyond that, the trail goes cold. Whether Mike is quietly building something new behind the scenes, took time to step back and reset after a major life change, or simply chose to walk away from public life entirely, he hasn't said. And given how carefully both sides have guarded every detail surrounding the split, that silence feels entirely intentional. Sometimes the loudest thing a person can do is say absolutely nothing at all. But Erin? She had no intention of going quiet. While Mike stepped out of the spotlight, Erin did the opposite. She took full ownership of the Our Wyoming Life channel, kept posting, and didn't skip a beat. There was no extended hiatus, no lengthy explanation to the audience, no period of uncertainty about whether the brand would survive. Erin simply kept going, because for her, stopping was never really an option. She brought in 2 teammates, Jeff Lake and Martha Larson, to help manage the workload that she and Mike had previously shared between them. And with that small crew behind her, she got back to work, running several thousand acres of ranch land south of Gillette, raising 3 kids on her own, growing microgreens, producing eggs, selling directly to local consumers, and documenting the entire thing for an audience that was watching closely to see how she'd handle it. The answer, according to a Cowboy State Daily profile from October 2025, is that she's handling it better than anyone might have expected. Erin has become even more focused and more purposeful in what she's building, leaning deeper into local food advocacy, the mission her stepfather Gilbert's ranch originally inspired. When asked about the divorce, she keeps it short. She doesn't like to talk about it. And honestly, the channel she's built since speaks louder than any explanation ever could. The Wyoming Life didn't end when Mike left. In a lot of ways, it was just getting started. The story of Our Wyoming Life was always sold as a partnership. 2 people against the odds, building something real together. But when you look at the full picture, it was always Erin's land, Erin's stepfather's legacy, and Erin's mission that held the whole thing together. The channel didn't collapse when Mike left because it was never equally his to begin with. And maybe that's the real lesson here. In a world where YouTube couples rise and fall together, Erin Galloway kept going, because the Wyoming Life was never just a brand. For her, it was always personal.